Welcome to Workology, where we decode the hustle, the hierarchy, and how to slay both. I'm Daisy, project manager and HR expert, here to help you level up in every room you walk into.
And I'm Jonathan, entrepreneur and unapologetic champion for self-worth and value-driven success.
From promotions to pivots, we've got the blueprint. This is Workology.
Mastering the workplace one slay at a time.
Okay, well, today we are here to talk about how to not be a micromanager.
Dun,
And
dun, dun.
I know, Jonathan, I feel like we've all had that person in our lives, that manager that we're just like, get off my back.
And
Have
if you
you had a
haven't,
micromanager?
well, yeah, all the time. But I was going to say, if you haven't had a micromanager, guess who you are? You're probably it.
Yikes. Or you're one of the lucky ones who's never experienced that yet.
Yeah, say like leprechauns exist too, right? Like, I
Yeah.
don't know. I don't know. I think everybody's experienced it, even if they don't necessarily know that they've experienced it. I think everybody's had it happen to them.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it manifests in different ways.
Yes, absolutely. I guess, how would you define a micromanager? Like, what do you perceive to be the tendencies or the behaviors that make you feel like you're being micromanaged?
Hmm. Well, that's an interesting question. I can tell you that I can tell you how I like to operate. And then if
Yeah.
something is not just different from that, but if something is frustratingly different, then I would probably say it's that. So for me,
Yeah.
a really big thing for me, anybody that I've ever hired,
Yeah.
I say, okay, if I'm giving you this responsibility, then I'm giving you the authority to carry out whatever it is you've got to do to make sure that you fulfill that responsibility.
Right.
The moment I come in, which I don't, but the moment I come in and say, okay, you've got this responsibility. Now here's how you do it. Follow up with me. Let me know that you've done that. Then why don't I just do it myself?
Yeah.
Because now you're not really doing the job. You're just answering to me and following up with me rather than actually getting the work done, which would probably be done a lot faster if I would just butt out and let you do your thing. So I guess micromanagement is looking at every little nitpicky detail
Hmm.
to make sure that something is up to your standard.
Yeah. But what do you feel has been the impact on you as the employee of someone who's a micromanager? Like, how does that make you feel and operate?
Normally I'm a contractor of that person. Um, but I remember working for a big corporate job, one of the big parks,
Hmm.
and it it made me second guess every decision that I made,
Mm,
which especially if you're in a creative space, once you get in your head and you start second guessing everything, you're not
yeah.
really doing your job, at least not effectively. The moment management starts to get in the way of the process,
Hmm.
it's no longer a creative issue. It's now a
Yeah.
leadership issue.
Yeah. I love that. I think that that's so accurate in terms of the impact because it's so true. If I feel like I can't make any decisions on my own without a manager second guessing the decisions that I'm making, as opposed to coaching me how to make better decisions and empowering me to make those mistakes and, learn from them and that sort of thing, I'm never going to gain my own persona. I'm never going to build my own way of working. It's always going to be, how do I try to think and put myself in the mind of the manager,
Right.
which is impossible because we're not mind readers, right?
Right.
It's an impossible
Right.
task.
That's
Yeah.
exactly it. And I think, you know, the, not every manager who is a micromanager
Yeah.
has this control issue. I mean, I think many do, but
Right.
there's a way to follow up and, like you said, empower or inspire people who are
Hmm.
working with you or for you without
Yeah.
making it seem like you're going behind them and double checking every little thing. You know,
Exactly.
I might walk by somebody who's, especially when I had the big studio, and say, okay, wow, I heard you when you were recording. Sounded great. I was still paying attention, but I
Hmm.
didn't go over there and nitpick every little thing because you know what? That person, I hired them because they're great. So they're going to figure out what they need to fix. I'm just telling them that's a terrific job.
Hmm.
And that motivated them to keep going and get it done correctly, effectively, efficiently.
Yeah.
I mean, it's wasting my money as an owner, it's wasting my money if I hire someone to do a job and then I go around behind them and essentially coach them through every step of the process. Then I hired the wrong person and I'm wasting money.
Right. That's so true. You're wasting time, you're wasting money, you're spending double in both money and time in order to get that one thing done.
Hmm.
So it's a lot. I think the repercussions are certainly vast, but as a micromanager, sometimes you're just so in there that you don't see it. So, I think in the past we used to reference Webster's defines blah 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 as this.
Do
Chat
it.
GPT. According to Chat GPT, I asked Chat GPT, I said, how would you define a micromanager? And ChatGPT is defining micromanager as someone who excessively controls or closely observes the work of others, often to the point of undermining autonomy, trust, and productivity. So,
Yes.
yeah,
Yes.
I
And
think
quite
that's,
frankly, for
yeah,
me, a business owner with severe ADD, if you could not tell, I know you could tell, Daisy,
yeah,
I would be making my life more difficult if I hired someone and then took on their project at the same time. Because now I'm doing a million different things
right.
rather than focusing on what I have to do, which is motivating a team if I have a team under me. My sole focus is making sure my people have what they need,
Hmm.
feel appreciated. Like that is my job.
Yeah,
And that's one job. There might be little tasks,
right.
different tasks involved, but that one job is keeping them happy and motivated and feeling creative, whatever. If
Hmm.
I have to do that and double check their files and double check this and ask them why it came out that particular, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, micromanagers, they want to oversee how everything is done, when it's done, by who it's done. They'll swoop in to try and fix things. They'll redo work instead of, like you said, empowering the team to own it. So there's just a lot that it's hard work to be a micromanager. Why would you want why
Exhausting.
would you want to add extra work to your plate? You're not getting paid extra for micromanagement. There isn't a
Right.
bonus at the end of the year that says, hey, if you do your work and the work of your team better than they could, you get a bonus.
I
Instead,
think
what do
what you
you
get is
have?
fired. You get fired,
Or
right?
disgruntled employees who then
Mm.
leave, which makes your job harder because now you have to hire that revolving door of people. And it's just not a good look.
And I don't
But
think anybody really wants to be. I think the
yeah,
intentions are good
yeah,
because they care about the product, they care about the service, whatever. It's
yeah,
just there's a proper way to lead, and it
yeah.
ain't that way.
Exactly. Well, let's take a moment. Let's take a step back because, as I mentioned, I don't know if micromanagers know that they are micromanagers. So, I actually have a little quiz for us today. And this is 10 questions
And
to test if you're a micromanager. Okay.
all
If,
right.
are you ready? We're
Yeah,
both going
and
to
you
take
can
this quiz. We're both going to answer this live.
and you guys can pause this as you need to and take the quiz along with us. Is there
Yeah,
a scoring metric or something?
that's a great question. I don't have a scoring metric for it.
So we'll
Maybe I
just see.
should.
Well, you want to just create one on the fly?
Yeah, I will.
Because I haven't heard the questions yet, so I don't know if that's even. possible with it. Like maybe they're not yes or no questions.
This is true. Okay. So for each yes answer, you're going to give yourself 1 point.
Okay.
If you have 0 to 2 points, you're the empowered leader, which
Did
means
you
that,
just make, are you making this up right now?
honey, we've got ChatGPT.
Oh, I was like, oh my God, she's like 0 to 2.
No.
What?
Okay. We'll also put this in the show notes for anyone who's listening. We'll have this scoring guide as well as the questions so that you can test yourself at home. You can just see and listen to Jonathan and I and know if we're good or bad.
You totally should have just taken credit for that and be like, yeah, I'm making it up. Are you ready? Write this down.
Yeah. Okay. So 0 to 2, you're the empowered leader.
Okay.
3 to 5 points, you're a well-meaning hoverer. So
Ooh,
I guess like the equivalent of a helicopter parent.
yep.
6 to 8 points, you're the hands-on hustler. Your team is feeling stifled. That's the vibe. And then 9 to 10 points, you are a certified micromanager. Back up.
CMM.
Yeah.
CMM. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna make a little point list for myself and for you, and let's see how we do.
Ooh, you're keeping score. I don't have
I'll
to.
keep score. Yeah, you don't have to. Okay, so first question. Do you ever rewrite your team's work just because it's not how you would have done it, even if it technically meets the goals? Yes or no?
Ooh, now see, that's an interesting question because oftentimes they come to me and say, how would you rewrite this? So that doesn't count, right? Because they come to me. I don't go to them.
I don't know. That sounds like Stockholm syndrome.
Well,
I'm just kidding.
I'm sitting there going, does it?
No, no.
It's oftentimes, let's say an actor
Hmm.
wants to write a cover letter for an audition, or they want to
Hmm.
follow up with a casting director or something. And
Yeah.
they come to me and they say, hey, I wrote this to so and so casting director. Can you take a look at this and tell me if I should change anything or fix anything? And I go, sure, let me look at it. I don't feel like that's micromanaging.
That's not micromanagement, and that's not you rewriting it for them. That is you being a second set of eyes and almost like an editor, a provider of feedback as opposed to a rewriter.
Okay, well, then the answer
So,
is no.
so okay, great. You're clear on that one. I would also say the same thing. I don't think that I've ever actually rewritten someone's entire work for them. I have given them feedback though, if again, like you said, if they've asked for it.
I don't even like to do my own work.
Yeah, I don't want to rewrite it for you. Have ChatGPT do that.
That's like our third like host, our third
Exactly. I
co-host.
know our third host is ChatGPT. Okay. Do you feel anxious when you don't know exactly what each team member is working on at any given moment?
Nope.
I don't think I feel anxious about that either. I also think that when I was a people manager, I had pretty good mechanisms that helped me receive the updates that I needed for my team. So that didn't lead me to feel anxious because we would have one-on-ones, we'd have update calls and stuff. So I felt good about that.
I think for me, it's like I said, if I gave them the responsibility, then come to me if you need me, but I'm checking in with you a couple days before it's due, before the deadline,
Yeah,
just so I understand it and I can present it. But I am not worried about how it's going because I
right.
hired the right person.
Exactly.
If
Okay.
anything, I try to hire people who are better at that thing than I am, you know?
I've always heard that that is a great rule of thumb, is to hire people around you who are better than you in the things that you are not great at.
As a business owner, entrepreneur, and I
Yeah.
promise we'll get back to this. I always tell people the only things you should be doing when you own a business or run your own company, the only things you should be doing are the things that only you can do.
Mm.
So,
Oh my
number
gosh,
three.
my boss. Wait, hold on. I want
Oh,
to finish
okay.
on something
Sorry.
else. My boss gave me the best quote the other day. We actually had her on a panel along with some other people, and one of the things that she said was that not every fire needs your bucket of water. What? Dropping bombs like
I like
wisdom.
this lady.
I love her. We're gonna have her on at some point. I promise.
Not
Okay.
every fire needs your bucket of water.
Yes,
You should
honey.
follow that with boo. Need your bucket of water, boo.
I love it. Okay, number three. Do you give feedback on formatting, fonts, or word choices more than you give feedback on strategy or outcomes?
Nope.
Okay, this one's a little tricky for me because I am a visual nerd. So I'm actually going to give myself a point because sometimes I do give feedback on font, formatting, or word choices, depending on the scenario. So, for example, if we have communication that's going to go out to the entire company, I am absolutely giving somebody feedback on a particular word if it completely changes the impact of that messaging and how it's going to land with the audience.
But I don't
So,
know
if
if
that
that's
makes me a
microman.
micromanager,
Mm-mm.
I'm going to
I
give my, I'm just going to give myself a point.
Okay,
I'll
it's
give
fine.
myself
I just
one.
I think that makes you a manager, but not a
Yeah.
micromanager because
Yeah.
you're changing a word to make it more effective. And isn't that your job
Yeah.
is to check that stuff? Now, if you're
Yeah.
checking every 10 minutes, that's
Right.
micromanagement.
Yeah. Maybe that's like a spicy question. Our audience is probably like, that's not micromanagement. We'll see. Anyway. Okay. Have you ever said, number four, have you ever said, it's just faster if I do it myself?
Yes.
Yeah, I've said that too. Do you routinely ask for updates before the deadline has even passed?
Routinely? No.
Yeah, no, I don't either. Do you find yourself hovering on Slack, which is a team communication platform for those who don't have it? So think Slack or Teams, or in meetings, waiting to jump in and correct course in real time?
What does correct course mean in this context?
Like let's say that something is kind of going off the rails in a meeting, and instead of letting somebody who is owning that particular area correct that thing, you jump in to correct it before they can. So
Mm.
let's say someone on your team is, let's call it like managing a project. There's an issue with that project. Instead of allowing them to respond to the question, the issue, the problem, you jump in instead of allowing them to jump in. If
Oh.
it's their project.
Sometimes what I know I've done in the past, if a question comes up, like from a client, and I know that that's
Hmm.
so and so's area, I might say to the client, that's so and so's area. So and so, that's not me
Yeah.
jumping in and
No.
speaking for them. I'm just giving them the floor or making it acceptable, okay, whatever, for them to speak up. So does that
Yeah.
count as a no?
It counts as a no. You're creating space for them.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I love that. I would also say no to that one too. Okay. Do you regularly review or edit your team's work before they've said it's ready for review?
No.
Yeah. Again, ask ChatGPT. I'm not trying to waste my time
Right.
on some not ready, half-baked piece of cake. No, thank you. Okay. Have you ever given someone a task and then created your own version of it just in case?
No.
I haven't either. Do you get frustrated when team members make decisions without looping you in first?
No.
No. I think it depends on the decision for me. So I'm going to give myself a point there. I think it depends on the decision. There are some decisions that I think require collaboration and in some instances approval. And I think that if you're leading well, your team understands the difference between those two. But I'm just going to give myself a point here just for the sake of giving myself a point.
Okay, that's fair. Like for me, I
Yeah.
think like when we were putting this logo thing together, I'm I'm gonna send it to you
Yeah.
because this is important to you as well. And you have great
Yeah.
insight and feedback and good opinions on things. So it's not necessarily me checking for permission as much as it is like
Yeah.
looping you into it and making a decision together.
Hmm.
So what was the exact wording of the question? Like, um,
Do you get frustrated when team team members make decisions
Yeah, yeah.
without looping you in first?
So if I hired the right person,
Hmm.
then they're going to come to me when they need to because they know what kinds of things require my attention and what
Hmm.
kinds of things are really just going to distract me in the first place,
Right.
right? And I think that's why I mentioned the logo thing. That's
Yeah.
pretty important. We're going to see that all the time. So I
Yeah.
I bring it to you. You didn't come to me and say, show me the logo so far. Well,
Right.
it's not done yet, Daisy.
Yeah.
You know that I'm going to send it to you and ask for your feedback. So I don't think you're a
Yeah.
micromanager in that department. At least you hadn't been with me,
Okay.
even though I could use a good micromanager. Um, and I don't think I've done that to other people.
Yeah. Maybe you're right. I guess I don't need everyone or my team or people in general to loop me into every decision. And so I don't know how binary this is, if it's like all decisions or none decisions, or if it's certain decisions. So I'm just going to take myself off of this because I would say I know that I'm not always the primary decision maker on a lot of things. So
Hmm.
I'll leave that alone. I don't think that I deserve a point for that.
Good, good.
Yeah. Okay. Do you often think they just don't care as much as I do when reviewing someone's work?
Ooh. Hmm. That depends.
Hmm.
That depends. Um, Sometimes if there were one to give a point to myself for it, maybe it
Hmm.
would be that one.
Okay.
But I'm trying to think of examples.
Yeah.
Um, and every time I think of it, I think of people who are not necessarily employees of mine, but maybe they're, like I said, they're talent or somebody that I'm advising. Um,
Hmm.
you know what? I don't say it much, especially like my personal assistants that I've had. Um, there was only one. Now, in her defense, she was a complete dullard, and I fixed that.
Yeah.
I fixed it
Okay.
swiftly. But
There you
um,
go.
but I don't think no, I don't know. I'm still gonna give myself a yes because I thought
Okay.
about it real hard. Um,
Yeah.
and I've seen examples where I'm just like, I'm thinking to myself, really? That's what you came up with? But I don't think
Hmm.
that's based on their work ethic or how much they care about it. I think it's based on their ability. And that normally isn't somebody that I hired. It's somebody that I've sort of been assigned to by a client.
Okay.
But I'm still
I like
giving
that.
myself a yes.
Okay. Well, that concludes our quiz. We each had 2 points. And so that puts us into the category of empowered leader. Phew. That
Mm,
means that we
mm.
trust our team, give them space to grow, and focus on outcomes over perfection.
Now give us that, I don't think the word is rubric, but give us the chart again for what the scores
Yes.
are.
Yeah. So for those at home, if you were following along, 0 to 2 points, the empowered leader, 3 to 5 points, the well-meaning hoverer, which means you're not a full-on micromanager, but those tendencies are creeping in. So it's just time to zoom out and start to delegate. Points 6 to 8 means you are a hands-on hustler.
Hmm.
You care a lot and it shows, but your team is feeling stifled. So you got to let go of the my way or the highway and allow your team to thrive. And then the last 9 to 10 points, you're on fire here. You are the certified micromanager. So you've literally got both hands on the wheel, even when someone else is supposed to be driving. So you need to like take a vacation, run a little trust fall exercise or something, but you got to step out of the way and let your team lead instead.
And in this test, the lower your score, the better.
It's like golf. Yes. You'll want less strokes.
I don't know anything about golf.
Oh, well,
I
speaking
mean,
of, the Masters just happened this weekend, and Rory McIlroy was able to achieve his grand slam of his career, which means
what's
that
his
he
name?
won. Different. Rory McIlroy?
Hmm. Mm-mm. I don't know.
No, you don't know him?
Mm-mm.
Okay, well, his name has been heard around the golf community and sports community for the last couple of days. He just won the Masters tournament, which happened this past weekend. And pretty much he had won um, all of these different tournaments, which were like the US Open, the British Open, and the PGA Championship. When you win those three and a Masters, you get what's called a Grand Slam in your career. And Rory achieved three out of those four very early on when he was playing the game of golf. And from the last championship to the Masters was 11 years. And so everybody was just really wanting to see him win because it took him, again, like basically 11 years from that last championship win to get the Grand Slam of his career. So it was a big weekend.
Wow. I have a golf
Yeah.
question.
Okay.
How frequent are holes in one?
Those are very rare.
Okay.
They are very rare. Yeah. I don't have a stat for you. I can Google the stat for you, but um how
I
frequent?
I mean, you can if you want to. I know that in putt putt,
Yeah.
it's possible, depending on when you hit the ball, if the alligator mouth or the windmill fan thing
Okay. I
isn't
thought
in
we
the
were
way.
talking about real golf, not putt golf, which is basically make believe.
It is. It really
But
is.
but to answer your question, a hole in one happens roughly once every 3,500 rounds of golf, which translates to approximately 1 in 12,500 for an individual golfer.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Honestly, I think that it would take me my entire life, and I would probably still not get a hole in one. That's the kind of golfer I am.
Fair enough.
Okay. But back to the micromanagement thing.
Yeah.
So we've taken the quiz. You know where you are now. You're self-aware, hopefully. You're acknowledging and accepting this is you.
Hmm.
If you're a micromanager, though, there is hope. You don't have to be set in your ways. There is hope for you.
You can change. You gonna tell us how?
Yes. So
Yay.
I found three practical, punchy little tips that can help people start to loosen their grip and start leading as opposed to micromanaging. So,
Ladies and gentlemen, Daisy's punchy practical
oh,
tips or punchy
punchy
practical
practical.
points.
Ooh, I like that. Alliteration is my favorite. So, okay, set the what, not the how. What that means,
Ooh. Sorry, go
yes.
ahead.
I love the ooze though. Don't stop. So instead of prescribing every single step, you want to make sure that you're clear on the outcome that you're looking for. And so you need to allow your team to decide how they want to get there. That's again, it comes down to that creativity, that autonomy, that sense of ownership. And they're going to bring that how. So be clear on the outcome and allow your team to decide how to get there. And as you see them going through that, if we have gotten to the outcome point and it isn't exactly what you expected, that's an opportunity to coach and provide feedback. But you need to allow them to take those steps. Let them do the how. That's number one.
Love it.
Number two. Number two, delay your feedback. And so it's probably going to be really hard. This is like the bite your tongue moment. So before jumping in with any kind of edits or comments, allow the work to breathe for a minute. And again, let your team finish. Don't check unfinished work. So if it's not final, just like cool it, relax. They might be able to answer those questions for themselves and get to that final product without your feedback. So instead of trying to jump in throughout the entire process, let them get to that outcome point. So again, if we are looking at number one, you're letting them do the how. And if point number two, you're letting them finish the how. And then last, number three is replacing check-ins with checkpoints. So you want to actually build in regular structured updates as opposed to those random pings, the, hey, do you have a sec? Or like, can we talk? that creates anxiety for your employees. That makes them feel like you're about to break up with them or fire them,
Oh,
basically. When you have that like, hey, do you have a sec? Can we talk? It just starts making your team feel like they're constantly being surveilled, like
mm-hmm.
as opposed to being trusted to do the work. So these regular checkpoints, um, instead are going to allow your team to feel a deeper sense of accountability and like they have those moments that they'll know to check in with you. Oh, okay. I know if I have my one-on-one with you on a Thursday and this is going to be a checkpoint for us to talk about my project, I will prepare for that meeting and have a great conversation and discussion about where I am, where I need your help, any opportunities or blockers for my project, as opposed to all of those moments leading up before that one-on-one of you poking around and seeing how my work is coming together.
Yeah. Because you're kind of always looking over your shoulder.
Yeah, it's just like get out. Big brother.
I want to add one to
Yeah.
that list. Hire or recruit from your team, your existing
Yes.
team, the right people
Yes.
and go
I
through
think
whatever
that's,
process you got to go through to get them to make sure that they're the right people.
yeah, hire slow,
There you go. I like that. Hire
hire
slow.
slow. Yeah. Be very intentional, thoughtful about the people you're bringing in. Ask the hard questions in the interview. I think those will be key to help you understand if these people have the competencies and the capability to do the work.
Or look for previous examples.
Yeah,
I have a
exactly.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Let's say somebody works for a company and they've taken this test, but for their manager, so to speak,
Oh,
right?
okay.
And they're like, okay, well, Gretchen is definitely a micromanager. That's the
Yeah.
first name I come up with, whatever.
I love it.
How do they address that, bring that up with their manager? Because obviously the manager, well, I can't say obviously, probably doesn't
Yeah.
want to be that. Is there a way to do that? Do you bring it up?
Yeah. Yeah. That is an interesting one. And I love the question because I think the conversation is very tricky, right? Your boss may not know that they are a micromanager. And you want to make them feel almost included and reassured as opposed to being called out or threatened.
Ooh,
Like
yeah.
if you just flat out tell someone you're a micromanager, they're going to get really defensive about it. They're not going to be open to anything else that comes out of your mouth after you flash that up and say that thing, right? But I think that if you lead into the conversation a bit differently, for example, saying something like, I really appreciate how involved you are and how much you care about our work, and it shows. But, or like that said, I'm having a harder time staying focused or building momentum because I have to shift gears all the time. I have to respond to your frequent checkpoints. I have to rework something that's already aligned that I thought, right, was already aligned with the goal. Um, and instead try to offer some sort of proactive solution, right? So I would love to have some more ownership on my side. Maybe we can set up a regular touch point, something that we've suggested for the micromanager, but if they're not there, you can do that as the employee. I can talk you through the process. I can talk you through progress, blockers. That way you're in the loop. That way I can like maintain my flow of work and energy. So I guess like in summary, lead with appreciation and share that context of like, I see you, I appreciate you, I get it. Let them know how it's affecting you and how you're operating. And then last but not least, offer some sort of solution to the problem.
Hmm.
So give them an alternative as a, like I said, instead of checking in all the time, let's just set a designated checkpoint. And then this is how we can stay connected on the work.
Ooh, you know what comes to my
Yeah.
mind, which is, I think, a similar response, piggybacking off of that, I guess, is
Yeah.
saying something like, I noticed you've been checking in more frequently than
Yeah.
usual on this whatever project. Is
Yeah.
there a particular part of this or part of my work that you're unsure about?
I love that.
Something like that, right?
I love that. That's such a great question because I think that what it does is that it allows them to even think, actually, no, I'm not unsure about your work. Or yes, actually, I'm very unsure. And this is the reason why. And this is a part of it that I am unsure about. So I think that it allows the conversation to go in either direction. And if they were actually not unsure and didn't intend to micromanage in this particular scenario, then that allows you to have that conversation to clear the air and to let them kind of back up a little bit. But if they are being very micromanaging and they acknowledge, oh, yeah, you're right. I am unsure about this thing. Now it helps you provide some sort of solution for that work and
Mhm.
shift from uncertainty to clarity.
And I think also we feel whenever we experience problems, issues, whether it's at work or running your own thing or even at home, because we're people, right? I feel like we
Yeah.
always assume that we're alone and we're the only people that have ever experienced this.
Hmm.
I don't think that's the case. I think it's worth maybe a second or two to Google it, how to deal with this, how to solve this problem with my manager or direct report or whatever, and see what other people have done, see what's worked for them. And if that still doesn't work, then you can
Yeah.
always leave a comment on this show, which I think there's a way to do that on all these platforms. And
Yes.
Daisy will maybe read your question or comment and give a response.
Yeah, I absolutely love that. And what I will also add is if you have had a conversation with your boss as a result of the advice that we've provided on this show and it worked or it didn't work, let us know because we would love to know. We'd love to celebrate the success with you, or we would love to find opportunities of providing better guidance on how to navigate those conversations. But either way, stay connected to us in the comments. We'd love to hear from you.
That was so eloquent.
Why, thank you. You're so eloquent yourself, Jonathan.
Thank you, thank you, thank
All
you.
right. Well,
I,
I think
yeah,
I think we did the thing, right?
we did the thing. We did the thing.
We did the thing.
Say the thing. You want to say the thing? You want me to
I'll
say the
say the
thing?
thing. You say the thing.
Okay. So, thanks for joining us. This has been Workology, where we master the workplace one sleigh at a time.
Yes. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.